If you have PCOS and you've been doing everything right, training hard, eating in a deficit, ticking all of the boxes, and the scale still isn't moving, or worse, it is going up, I need you to just take a few minutes out of your day and watch this because you are playing a game where someone is quietly changing the rules and they forgot to tell you, which is a real asshole move if you ask me. Today, we are fixing that. I'm going to break down why conventional weight loss advice completely fails for so many women with PCOS, as well as what is actually going on inside your body and what to do instead. We'll cover the four types of PCOS. Yes, there's four types. Why insulin resistance is the real problem behind a lot of it, and why eating balanced and smashing HIIT workouts might actually be making things worse, and the approach that has helped thousands of women, including myself, finally start losing weight even after being stuck for years. Quick note before we dive in, if you're someone who likes the science behind weight loss, check out my free fat loss masterclass. It's linked below, zero cost, all value. And also, if I sound a bit funny, look a bit down, I am recovering from being sick. So I'm still getting rid of the last of it. So I apologize. Okay, so I'm going to say something that might make your personal trainer quietly cry into their protein shake. If you have PCOS and you're doing high intensity interval training or HIIT training every day or multiple times every week to lose weight, you might be making things worse. So here is what is happening. PCOS, and particularly the types driven by stress and inflammation, this is already putting your nervous system under pressure. Your cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone, they are already doing overtime. And cortisol is not really your friend when it comes to fat loss. When cortisol is chronically high, it raises your blood sugar, which triggers insulin, which tells your body to store fat, especially around your belly. It also slows your metabolism and just tanks your sex hormones. So when you show up to your 45-minute, HIIT class in a fasted state, screaming through burpees, you are piling on more stress into a system that is already feeling overwhelmed. You're not burning fat, you are just spiking cortisol, spiking insulin, and signaling to your body that it is absolutely not safe to let go of any fat stores right now. And then there is the whole calorie restriction piece. This is your eat less and move more, which is great for the average person, but someone going through the absolute trenches with PCOS, completely useless because PCOS, especially the insulin resistant type, this means your body is already producing too much insulin. And when you cut calories dramatically, your body doesn't go, oh, great, let's just use the fat for energy. It actually goes, oh no, we're in a famine. Store everything, slow everything down instead. Chronically eating less actually trains your metabolism to get more efficient at running on less food. This is the type of efficiency you don't want. You want a body that uses more calories to run because then you can eat more. Scientists call this adaptive thermogenesis, and I just call it your body sabotaging you, even though you have good intentions. So, eating less and moving more doesn't really work for PCOS, but insulin and cortisol management does. So, if burpees and bird food aren't the answer, then what is? That brings me to the most important thing that I'm going to be telling you today. If insulin resistance is the root cause, then that's what we need to tackle first. So, let's talk about insulin because this is the thing that changed everything for me and most women that I talk to who have PCOS. Insulin is your fat storage hormone. When you eat carbohydrates of any kind, your blood sugar rises and your pancreas releases insulin to manage it. Insulin's job is basically to knock on your cell's door and say, hey, I've got some glucose here. Let's use it for energy. Insulin resistance is when your cells stop answering the door. Your pancreas goes, okay, they didn't hear me, and it sends more insulin and more and more. So now you've got high insulin levels floating around doing what high insulin does, which is storing fat. That is also blocking fat burning. And in the case of PCOS, it is stimulating your ovaries to produce excess testosterone. Yes, high insulin is directly telling your ovaries to produce more male hormones. That is where the acne, the hair growth, or the hair loss, and the weight around your middle, and the irregular periods are coming from. And here's the part that just absolutely broke me when I first learned it. The balanced diet, the one where you prioritize whole grains, low fat dairy, fruits, and lots of complex carbs, can be a terrible choice for someone with insulin resistance because even healthy carbs raise blood sugar. And if your cells aren't responding properly to insulin, that blood sugar just keeps calling for more and more insulin, which means more fat storage, more testosterone, and more symptoms of PCOS. This is why two women can both have PCOS and have completely different experiences. One woman can eat oats for breakfast and feel great. Another woman can eat oats for breakfast and her weight and acne and, anxiety are all over the shop. They're not imagining it. It's just that their insulin response is different because they might have different types of PCOS, which more on that in a minute. So, what actually works here is reducing the thing that is causing the insulin temporarily and stopping it from spiking in the first place. This is where the low carb and ketogenic diets have shown genuinely really promising results for women with insulin resistant PCOS. When you lower your carb intake significantly, you are reducing the demand for insulin. Your cells start responding again, your testosterone levels can finally drop, and your periods can start to regulate. Some women have even fallen pregnant after years of trying simply by shifting to a lower carb way of eating and giving their insulin levels a chance to come down. So that is biology working the way that it is supposed to. And I want to be very clear here. I'm not telling you to go low carb forever or even go no carb. I'm telling you that for a period of metabolic healing, reducing the foods that are spiking your insulin the most gives your body a chance to reset. You can add more flexibility in back again once the system is working properly. That is exactly what I did. I went keto, I even went carnivore for a little bit. Now I can eat carbs fairly regularly with minimal impact on my body. Now, before you panic and ask, but what about that one influencer who healed her PCOS and she didn't lower carbs? Let's talk about why not everyone with PCOS has the same experience and why what worked for one might not work for you. Okay, so if you've ever gotten excited about someone healing their PCOS with keto and you tried it and it didn't really work the same way for you, or you maybe tried a stress reduction protocol that someone else swore by, but again, it didn't work for you either, this could be why. So there are four identified types of PCOS, and they don't all respond to the same things. Type 1 is insulin resistant PCOS. This is the most common type. It's estimated to affect about 70 to 80% of women with the condition. This is the one that I've been talking about. High insulin, excess testosterone, weight gain, especially around the middle, sugar cravings, fatigue, sometimes dark patches of skin around the neck or even the underarms. This is the type that responds really well to low carb eating, resistance training, and fasting. Type 2 is inflammatory PCOS. This one is driven by chronic, low grade inflammation in the body. Your immune system is triggering androgen production. Symptoms can include fatigue, joint pain, skin issues, even gut problems and headaches. So, for this type of PCOS, you might have more luck with something like an anti inflammatory diet, eating for better gut health, and some stress reduction techniques. Type 3 is adrenal PCOS. This affects roughly 10% of women with PCOS, and it's driven by an abnormal stress response. This is caused by elevated DHEAS from the adrenal glands rather than testosterone from the ovaries. These women often have normal insulin levels, but high stress hormones. HIT and aggressive calorie restriction can make adrenal PCOS significantly worse because you're adding more stress to an already stressed system. And type 4 is the post pill PCOS. This happens after stopping hormonal contraceptions. The body can experience a surge of androgens during the transition off the pill, causing acne, irregular periods, and hair changes. The good news is this type is often temporary. And here's the catch, you can have overlapping types. And PCOS is tragically under researched. Women's health has been historically underfunded, and the science is still catching up. So, if you have been confused or dismissed or giving conflicting advice, that is not you, that is the state of the research. I don't know everything either, and I wouldn't even begin to act like I did. What we do know is that for the majority of women with PCOS, insulin management can be a central strategy. And the approaches that calm insulin, like lower carb eating, stress management, quality sleep, resistance training, and walking, also help with inflammation and adrenal load. So there's a lot of overlap in what works and even across different types, which Brings me to the two of the most underrated tools in the PCOS fat loss toolkit. They're not sexy, they're not a new supplement, although I do have a few supplement recommendations. Just stay around for that. But these really help to put your PCOS into remission. And I need you to resist the urge to roll your eyes. Resistance training and walking. I know. You wanted me to say something more dramatic, but here is why these two things are non negotiables for PCOS. So, muscle tissue is your body's metabolic sink. Your muscles absorb roughly 80% of the glucose that enters your bloodstream after a meal. The more muscle you have, the more efficiently your body clears blood sugar and the less insulin it needs to, be released. And the more insulin sensitive your cells can become over time. So, when you lift weights consistently, you're literally building the infrastructure that your body needs to handle carbohydrates better. You're treating the root cause, and probably the only benefit of having PCOS is higher testosterone, which means you're going to build muscles so much quicker than most. So, 2 or 3 sessions of resistance training per week focused on compound movements. These are your squats, deadlifts, rows, chest presses. This is enough to see meaningful change. And you don't need, 2 hours a day. I just want you to be consistently working out. Now, the next one is walking, and I know it sounds too simple, but walking after meals, even for 15 to 20 minutes, has been shown to blunt blood sugar spikes and reduce the insulin response to that meal. I've tested this on myself with a glucose monitor. It helps your muscles use the glucose from your food instead of storing it as fat. It lowers cortisol, it's free, and it doesn't send your stress hormones through the roof like intense cardio can. This is the movement combination that really supports PCOS without adding more hormonal stress on top of the stress that you are already dealing with. Okay, so I promised to supplement talk, and I'm not talking about like things like fat burners or appetite suppressants. I'm going to just talk about compounds that have actual published research behind them for insulin sensitivity specifically, and for women with PCOS. This stuff is genuinely worth knowing about. So let's talk about my favorite, which is berberine. Berberine is a plant compound and it has been studied pretty extensively for blood sugar and insulin regulation. I personally have tested berberine on myself with a blood sugar monitor and can confirm it does a fantastic job of regulating blood sugar. So, some of the research has compared its effects on blood glucose to drugs like metformin, which is one of the most commonly recommended drugs for type 2 diabetes and insulin resistant type PCOS. So, berberine acts by activating something called AMPK, which is essentially a metabolic switch in your cells, which improves how effectively they use glucose. In simple terms, it helps your cells respond to insulin better, so you need less of it. Oh, my sickness is really catching up on me. Oh. So, for PCOS specifically, some studies have shown that berberine can help with menstrual regularity, androgen levels, and metabolic markers. It has also been shown to reduce sugar cravings pretty dramatically for some people, and I've personally felt the impact of lowering food noise. It is very helpful when you're entering a fat loss phase. Now, here is one caveat with berberine, and I'm saying this clearly because I care about you. Berberine can interact with medications, including diabetes medications and some hormonal treatments. My dad didn't listen to my advice and took the berberine, and with his blood pressure meds, his blood pressure lowered too much, and he actually had to decrease his medication with the doctor. If you're on anything, please talk to your doctor before adding it. Read the label on whatever product you choose and start low and see how your body responds. Some people get awful stomach aches from berberine. Luckily, I don't. I'm not prescribing anything here. I'm just telling you what exists and you can do your own research. The next one is inositol. This one could be genuinely exciting for PCOS specifically, and it doesn't get nearly enough attention, although it is highly recommended on TikTok. Inositol is a naturally occurring compound. Technically, it's a type of like sugar alcohol, and your body uses it in insulin signaling. Think of it as like helping the message from insulin actually get through to the cell, like fixing a phone line, not just like screaming louder into your phone. There are two forms that you'll see. This is myoinositol and d-chiroinositol. I hope I pronounced that right. The research for PCOS tends to support a combination of both, with myoinositol being the dominant one. That's the one that I have had experience taking. Studies have shown that it can help with ovulation, testosterone levels, egg quality, and yes, insulin sensitivity and weight management. for people with PCOS. Now, some women will notice improvements in their cycle regularity within a few months. Some find their cravings settle, and it's one of the more evidence backed supplements for PCOS that you can find. It's generally well tolerated as well and doesn't require a prescription. You can just buy it at a supplement store. And again, not medical advice, not a replacement for working with your doctor, but it's worth researching and, bringing it up at your next appointment. Next one is magnesium. So, honorable mention to magnesium because magnesium deficiency is very common in women with insulin resistance, and low magnesium makes insulin resistance worse. So, magnesium is very important. It plays a role in over 300 enzymatic reaction in the body, including glucose metabolism. So, getting enough magnesium either through your diet or with supplementation can support insulin sensitivity, improve sleep quality, and can reduce cortisol. Magnesium glycinate is usually the most well tolerated form if you want to try supplementing it. I personally take a gummy because I'm sick of the amount of pills that I have to take for all my other conditions and chronic pain. So if I can have a gummy, I'll do a gummy. Now, I just want to take a second to be real with you because I spent years feeling like my body was betraying me and I tried everything, counted every calorie, did the HIIT classes, ate the clean food, and the harder I tried, the worse my results got. The reason I share this stuff is because I genuinely wish that someone had explained insulin resistance to me like 10 years ago. Not the textbook version, because I would have just, my eyes would have glazed over and it would have gone over my head, but the real one, the one that explains why eating a bowl of oats for breakfast was keeping me stuck when everyone else seemed to be eating it and they were fine, and why my afternoon sugar cravings weren't just me being weak, they were my blood sugar crashing, and why the scale going up wasn't really my fault. It was my body just working against me. The content that I create is based on science. It's metabolic research that has been published, studied, and replicated. But I'm not a doctor. I'm a woman who got obsessive about learning this stuff and then pursued a nutrition qualification because the standard advice just wasn't working for me. And then I used myself as a test subject until I figured it out. And if you want the full breakdown or how to structure your meals or insulin control, how to ease into fasting safely as a woman, or how to build a week of training that doesn't spike your cortisol, I have got two options for you in the description. I've got a free masterclass that walks you through the biggest fat loss mistakes women are making at the moment and exactly how to fix them, no cost. And if you're ready to go all in with the full 12-week structure, this is personalized support from myself, a community going through the same transformation. My metabolic method coaching is down there too. Links are below. And if you found this video helpful, you will love one of my previous videos about why you should stop counting calories and start managing insulin instead. This is the approach that I use to lean out whenever I want to without ever counting a single calorie. So that is it for today. I'll see you in the next one.